Good morning. I hope all of you can hear me very, very well. Welcome to another edition of Executive Insights. We launched this platform in response to the pandemic about 2 years ago, and I'm so happy to share that through this platform and the webinars that we do pretty much on a fortnightly basis, we've been able to connect and touch and guide almost more than 6,000 executives and people like yourselves, forward thinkers, in this ad marcom, media, and technology space. So today we're going to talk about how organizations can maximize their sustainability impact. And usually in this sort of topic, it's both a mix of action as well as communication. And I'm really happy to be able to welcome Andy. Hi, Andy. Good morning. How are you?
Hi, Dasheng. Good to see you. Good morning. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, Andy, are you with us in Singapore, or are you?
I'm in Singapore this morning. Yeah.
In Singapore, you beat the traffic.
I did just about. Yeah.
You know, the ICA raised the news report that the causeway is completely full, right? With people moving up north for the holidays. So thank you so much for being here with us today. We have Andy, really courtesy of AAMS. And from AAMS, we also have Mr. Christopher O. Chris?
Good morning, everyone.
And we know Chris fondly as Santa Claus because he comes on at the end of the session with a bunch of goodies that he wants to share with all of you in terms of courses and training that is available at AAMS, and many of them are actually well-funded. So more resources for all of you to take advantage of. So my name is Dasheng. I'm actually the head of commercial planning and industry solutions. Me and my team put together these webinars for the audience that we have today. Really good to see a really good audience here today. And I think it's really because, the topic is so salient in the world we live in today. We've been doing, since the beginning of the pandemic, we've been doing dipstick surveys with all our partners at Mediacorp. And I think over the past 6 months or so, it's been resounding that there are two S words that come up as the top of mind with our partners. One is social media, and the other is sustainability. So today, we're going to take everyone through what this means and how your brand and your business can gain the best value and impact from the suggestions that we're putting out. So let me just explain very quickly what AAMS is. It was formed on 1st of November in 2019, and it's really the merging of the 4A's association together with the AIS. And what this body aims to do is really to make Singapore a hotbed of ad marcom excellence. And we check out the website. We welcome all of you to join us. And actually, we're so fortunate at Executive Insights to have this partnership with AAMS because it actually makes available to us top-notch speakers like Andy. Okay, so to kick this off, what I like to be able to do, in the virtual environment, it's sometimes very difficult to sort of have that connection with who we're speaking to, unlike in a physical audience. But we've got a tool called a poll. So what we wanted to do is start off with 2 poll questions. Our first poll question is, do your consumers care about your brand's sustainability impact? Yes, no, not sure. You should see a window pop up. Could you please help us by clicking the answer that best suits your brand? And we will see what this audience is composed of. Okay, and the team and our team of hamsters in the background are collating the results and getting it out. Let's see what the results are.
Interesting.
So clearly it's a resounding yes, but with a really healthy group of you saying you're really not quite sure. Okay, and we will share some data points that hopefully will encourage you to think otherwise. Okay, our next poll question is, has your company appointed a chief sustainability officer? So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's see. which applies to this audience. Okay, let's see what the results are.
Interesting.
Okay, it's quite scattered, and it's not a result that we're quite surprised about, right, Andy? Any comments about the results?
No, it's interesting. I mean, there's a big shift going on that we've seen in the last 12 months with new appointments, but the role of chief sustainability officer is widely different in different organizations.
Exactly.
The level of empowerment they've got, etc. So not a surprise, but this will change rapidly over the next few months, I'm sure.
Okay, and I think this is something that Andy can reference later on in his portion of the sharing. So now to kick off today's sharing in the right frame of mind, what I wanted to do was to share an IG post from one of our celebrities called Desmond Tan. I think many of you would know him. He's definitely one of our A-list actors and celebs, well acclaimed. And he's been living a green lifestyle for an incredibly long time. He has a very interesting story that despite being a celebrity, we see from his behavior, he brings his own utensils, he packs his own lunch, he uses, I mean, he's been doing this for many, many years, and we encouraged him to put a series of videos out on his IG, and I wanted to just share with you the first one. Play, please.
When was the last time you slowed down to appreciate the beauty of nature? Remember the smell of freshly cut grass or the sound of birds singing? Sometimes I feel I'm so consumed in the digital world that I forget to reconnect with nature and truly appreciate the realness of our world. I grew up in Singapore and I'm a city boy at heart. To be honest, I often forget how closely tied we are to nature and how our actions directly impact it. Everything is so convenient for us now. Need fresh water? Turn on the tap. Need light? Flip a switch. When I throw my rubbish down a chute, it's magically gone. Unfortunately, many of our actions directly impact our already fragile planet. Should we continue to close an eye on this issue? Can each of us do something before it's too late? That's something I've been thinking about. Mother Earth is bleeding.
And I think I wanted to share this because this is the sort of ground sentiment that we're hearing when we do social listening. I don't profess to be a tree hugger. I don't think Andy does as well, but I think we work with enough brands and we see all of this happening, and we know that there's something called the power of communications and this media space that can really push forward the things that we all need to be concerned about and do. So now, sustainability impacts consumers' purchase preferences, and it really does make them happy. This piece of research came from Capgemini in March 2020, and I'm quite sure from what we're hearing from our partners and clients that these numbers would have surged a great deal over the past 2 years. So imagine that 79% of consumers are changing their purchase preferences based on the social environmental impact of this purchase, right? And 52% of consumers feel this emotional connection with a product or the organization which is sustainable. So these results show you that there is this incredible shift, and I think we're going to talk more about it a little bit later on, and we have Andy here to kind of share with us a framework for thinking that your organization can adopt in taking the steps forward. I mean, when we saw the poll results, half of you, I think, have already embarked on this journey or realized the importance of this journey to your brand and your business. But there is a significant number of us, at this webinar today who I think are kind of wondering, should I do it? Why should I do it? When should I do it? How do I do it? And we aim to answer some of these questions in the next 40 minutes or so. So at this juncture, I want to invite Andy on for his portion of sharing. And I want to encourage all of you that as we're sharing, what makes these sessions so much fun for all of us is, just use the chat box and go in and type in questions either in the chat box or under Q&A. And I will try to moderate, and I'll be constantly reading your comments, and I will feed them to Andy. If you want to challenge something he's saying or agree with something he's saying, more power to you, please. We welcome all these comments, and let's get a very vibrant discussion going this morning. So on that note, over to you, Andy.
Dasheng, thanks so much. That's a great introduction, and thank you so much to you and to Mediacorp for the invitation to speak, and thank you to the AAMS as well for the invitation, and to everybody out there who's curious to learn more. It's so interesting. I mean, the data you've just showed, Dasheng, and that poll, it's very clear, at least for the purposes of today. The consumer verdict is clear. They are demanding sustainable solutions from business. So it's not if we should do it, it's, as you said, Dasheng, how we should do it. And I'm going to be speaking to you really as marketers and as business owners to give you a framework to help you make some really important decisions. Because as we all will know on this, sustainability is going to be an existential disruption to all of us and our business, one that will define our careers. And it's how we react now that will depend on whether we'll be winners or losers on this. So I'm going to be speaking to you as much around as business owners and drivers as well as marketers, because we need to deliver positive impact, not only to the environment, but also to our own bottom line and to our business. And that's a critical dilemma, because without business, we can't do anything for the planet or for our communities.
Yeah, and Andy, I just wanted to share something that was actually quite poignant, right? I mean, this over the last couple of days, a good friend of mine, Guna, launched GastroBeats at Marina Bayfront, and I encourage all of you to go take a look. And this, this is a cheap plug for him, but really, I brought this up because the entire exhibition or the entire experience was brought together with sustainability in mind. And so we were sitting there with some friends having a meal 2 nights ago, and the cutlery and everything was very sustainable. But while we were enjoying the food, literally the conversation turned because my 2 friends have kids who are 10, 11, 12 years old. And, it took such a poignant turn because these parents were saying that they're so worried about what the world is going to be like when their kids are, coming out to work, or in their 30s and starting families, and whether there will, what the world will look like. So Andy, it's a now or never, isn't it?
Absolutely. I've actually got some data I've got somewhere else that says the biggest change came from leaders who had young children, funnily enough, and those are the leaders just coming into the stages of real influence and power, as it were. The older folks, their children are grown up, they're kind of falling off the conveyor belt. So yes, now is the time.
Yeah.
Very good reminder. I'm going to share a little bit of data. A lot of this is from a recent study that I've been driving that explores how ready and responsive businesses are to this sustainability disruption. Now, this was a partnership between myself at Ogilvy Consulting and a leading independent sustainability expert named Joanne Flynn. And together we put in a survey amongst business leaders throughout Singapore and Asia. And it was just 2 months ago. So the survey is very, very recent and the data is very live. And I'll obviously only have time for headlines today, but just email me if you'd like me to share more details on this separately. But the implications are simple. The more ready you are as an organization, the more likely you are to succeed and be a winner. On the next slide, please. As I mentioned, the disruption is going to be accidental. Many businesses are going to go down. Many new businesses and existing businesses will transform and blossom. Sectors are going to completely reinvent themselves. It's very exciting, but very scary. The issue, what makes this different, is that sustainability is everybody's business. So the number of stakeholders who have an opinion of you, your business, your brand, who have an influence over you, your business, your brand, is larger than ever before. And any one of those stakeholders can take you down. So talent can boycott you as an employee. As employees, they can run off. We're seeing that a lot in different sectors. Retailers are delisting whole sectors. In the UK, plastic wet wipes have just been delisted by major retailers. Single-use bottles of water are soon going to be delisted. Your cost of capital is going to go up. Regulators are going to get involved and limit your access. And of course, customers are going to abandon you for those who are offering similar propositions, similar experiences, but with added sustainability benefits. So this is very important. You can see there that the employees, over 3/4, care about this. So if you as a business don't deliver and don't walk the walk, they're going to leave you. Same with customers. Over 50%, we saw that data earlier on, over 50% care about this. And that number's only going to go up. So on the next slide, please. Let's just look, this is a snapshot of all the business. As of today, there's a huge spread of readiness. Less than a third say this is a critical issue. I promise you, in 3 years' time, that number will be 80%. The largest, sadly, over 40% say it's not really an issue yet. Well, that's going to change, and this will really shake out the winners and losers. A follow-on from that, where is this on the next slide? Or where is this agenda lodged at the most senior levels? And ask yourself, who is owning this? Who is, the more senior you go, the more likely the big decisions, the big investments are going to be made. So is the CEO, is the leader of your business truly engaged in this? One of the great things about chief sustainability officers is they can get things done on this topic. One of the problems might be that it's delegated completely to that person who doesn't have sufficient remit or power internally to get the changes done. So ask yourself where that agenda sits. And if it's not sitting at the right level, you as a conscientious senior marketer can drive that through your internal leadership. On the next slide, please. Obviously, sustainability requires huge action, and this action is not about marketing or communications alone. It's got to be enterprise-wide. It's got to affect every department, from supply chain to your sourcing, to your manufacturing processes, to your distribution, to your pay and conditions. Everything has got to be driven by this new consideration. It affects every aspect of operations. But the survey says less than half admit to having an enterprise-wide action. Over half, it's not fully there. So there's a long way to go, and I'd be curious to know where you guys sit on this. And let's just see where this goes. There's going to be a poll in a minute on this, on the questions on the right-hand side. As I said, sustainability changes everything. As a business leader, as a marketer, you've got new sets of resources to manage. We've now got to measure our carbon. We've now got to measure our plastic disposal, our circular economy, new remits of accountability, new investment requirements, new stakeholders to think about. So just as marketers, let's ask ourselves, I'd love to do a poll. What is the key consideration for your brand sustainability efforts? There are 3 options here, but you can say all of the above if you think these are what's keeping you awake at night. I'd be very curious to hear what you guys say. So please answer the poll and let's have a quick look at that. So the first question, how can we integrate sustainability into our brand and start that journey? How can we communicate it together with our stakeholders? Or maybe I'm doing a lot, but I'm not getting credit. So how do I boost my reputation? I'd love to see your answers. Vote now, please.
Okay, our poll elves are busy getting results.
Nice, very interesting. All of the above. Well, that's really good. And these are difficult considerations, as we'll talk about in a minute. We've got to build solutions into our brand. We can't just say we are green and put on labels or do some incremental changes. We've actually got to drive fundamentally different solutions for our consumers and for our customers.
Yeah, and it's very interesting that the first one, and this comes out a lot in the work I do with our partners, which is authenticity.
Yeah,
and I think it's that confluence between sustainability and social media, right? Because everything gets played out, and if someone smells that lack of authenticity, it's a recipe for disaster.
You're absolutely right, Dasheng. I mean, transparency is like we've never had it before, and that's only good, because we've got to just be open to it and change and be honest about it. Bad news spreads quicker than good news. So if somebody, for fairly or not, pokes holes in your claims or in your stories, we all know about the dangers of greenwashing, that news will spread quickly. So we've got to be greener than green, really driving fundamental solutions and talking about it in the appropriate way, not overclaiming, delivering really through actions and achievements rather than hot air. So you're absolutely right. Okay, so as I said, incremental change, I mean, there's different levels of change. Everyone's got to do something, and we've got to start the journey. But if we stop at incremental or symbolic change, I'm afraid that's a really problematic place. It's necessary but not sufficient, because consumers want more. They want more than incremental change. They want systemic change. They want real change. They are invested for their futures, their children, the planet. They are invested. They want to see big differences. As I said, if you try and make small changes and think it's a big deal, they're going to slam you down. To you, it's a big deal, but the marketplace won't think it's a big deal. So greenwashing is a real consideration. We've got kind of products and tools to help mitigate against that. And the worst thing is if we think we're doing enough. Well, we've done something, and that lulls us into a false sense of progress. So what I mean by incremental, I mean, obviously there are the cliches. If you turn your plastic straw into a bamboo straw, sorry, that's not going to change everything. By all means do it, but it's not enough. Your plastic caps or whatever. If you celebrate International Women's Day, but you don't follow up with real action to help provide top of range maternity benefits or equal pay and conditions or promoting mothers to their rightful place, then you're just being symbolic. So we've just got to really think about, and you've got to push that agenda as hard as you can with your own organization. So on the next slide, if you get it right, value will return. Value will return. This does cost money, and you'll need to make very smart financial business cases for the transitions required. But there are 4 sources of values. First of all, never overlook the value of talent. Gen Z, who are just coming through, really, really want to work on the right side of history. They want to be the solvers of this problem, not the problem. As a data point, Unilever, who's got a great reputation in this, in 52 out of the 54 countries they measure it, are named top employer amongst graduates. That reputation, think of all that positive value from being that talent magnet. Cheaper access to capital, so you get cheaper loans to make the transition. Of course, increased customer preference. And actually, if you do this really well, you'll be able to create own new markets and segments. So there is value to be gained if we get this right, but we have to be bold.
Yeah, and Andy, on this one, I'm going to jump in to say, when we talk about this top class talent and attracting them, we do regular youth surveys, with our readers and with the community at large, and also through the IHLs, right, Institutes of Higher Learning. And what's come up really, really clearly is for this new batch of juniors who are entering the job market, a sense of purpose beyond providing for a livelihood has surged ahead in importance, right? And with some of the banks that we work with, this cheaper access to capital is real. Recently, one of our partners announced that they have put aside cheaper funds for businesses out there that are providing food products through vending machines that don't have packaging. That means they allow you to bring a bottle to fill in, to fill a drink or whatever, and they will actually fund that and give a lower cost of capital. So there are so many interesting things happening in the value chain, and different people are putting money where their mouth is, so to speak. Yeah.
It's so good that you've pulled out the financial sector, because they got such a big role to play. They are moving money around. They've got discretion to tilt the balance, as it were. And that small business example is really good. And I've seen a lot of loans going out to personal levels that are preferential if they are to kind of fund solar panel installations and what have you. So there's a huge amount in this area. And this is part of the thing, whether it's financial through other ways of influence, you as business leaders out there can exert that influence to create an ecosystem of positive impact. You can give preferential distribution terms, preferential procurement terms, whatever it is. If we're really leading this topic, we can actually make it happen. That ripple will go out throughout our whole value chain. So thanks for that point out. Okay, so let's just see, right, how ready are you all? Now it's, we've got some top line things just to guide us on, but we've gone a little bit deeper into this, and the survey opened up a typology, different profiles that help organizations understand how ready they are as companies to make use of these opportunities. And what I'll do is, I don't have much time right now, but I'll run through 4 different profiles that describe 4 different kind of readiness positions. And as I read them out, I'd love you to kind of put in the chat. You don't have to say who you are, what company. Just say, put in, I'm an observer in this case. If you change your mind because you see a new profile that matches you a little bit more, that's fine. Just say it again, right? I'd just be very curious to hear the readouts, but just put it in the chat. So the first one is observer. The 2 dimensions, are how much you appreciate that the sustainability is going to affect your business model, high or low, and how much is it going to affect your stakeholders across the board, internal, external, customer stakeholders. The observers bottom left, so they think low and low on both. So they're the kind of wait and see folks, right? They are probably focusing on traditional business as usual. They're probably bottom line driven. They don't really want to contemplate making too much change or too much investment. They don't believe perhaps it's a big risk, or certainly not an immediate risk. Maybe they've got a lot of cash flow. Maybe it's privately owned. There's all sorts of reasons for it, but fundamentally, they don't perceive this as being an urgent driver of change. No commitments or plans, adopting a wait and see. They're aware of it, but they're saying not for us, can't compute, don't want to handle. Now, if you think you're that kind of person, we need to get you on the journey, right? There are 3 steps: define the ambition, figure out what the effects and the opportunities and the impacts are and the threats, and against that, define what your ambition is. Develop what is called a materiality assessment, so you actually generate the right operational changes accordingly. And thirdly, most importantly, you've got to make a pledge public. Even though you may not know how you're going to meet that pledge, by making it public, you galvanize action. So that's the observer. So if you think your business is an observer, just put that up in the chat box. Hopefully not so many, because these are obviously the laggards. The next profile is what I call the pledger. This came out from the data. They're very engaged with stakeholders, but they're not really walking the walk, walking the talk. So they are, they're talking to their people, they're talking to their customers, they're doing a little bit. They're probably doing a lot of symbolic kind of work to say, yeah, we're going green, we're working for it, we're on the way, we're pledging, of course. So they're preparing a response plan, but either it's superficial or it's not fully kind of enterprise-wide. And responsibility is often kind of delegated. Let's get the HR folks or even the marketing folks, because it's kind of that, keep the people happy. So those are the pleasures. And I think what we want to do with them is obviously drive more enterprise change. So there's a huge innovation potential for them. Business model innovation, think about their business. How could they evolve their business to kind of live up to what their vision is? Think about sustainability as a value driver. Understand those consumers we've just heard about. What are they looking for from your business, your sector? Where are the future trends going to be? And then how can you innovate accordingly? So that is the pleasure. Let's now move to the bottom right. These are the compliers. Lots of compliers out there. These people get it. They've got the memo. They've really been probably going on it for several years. They've got a plan. They've got an operational plan. They're measuring their carbon. They're ticking boxes. They're most likely disclosing because they want to get their ratings higher. So they're doing a lot, but it's essentially an accounting or a disclosure activity or an operational thing. It's kind of been driven down into the kind of that part of the business, and it hasn't fully engaged or galvanized the senior leadership or the organization, and therefore the stakeholders. So it's short term, it's about disclosure, it's about procurement, it's about doing what I need to do to get there, but nothing truly visionary and nothing truly kind of stakeholder driven. So what we do with these kinds of clients is really help them build a sustainability culture moving on. They think of sustainability as an operational thing, not a cultural potential. So it's about developing a narrative. What is my story? I'm doing a lot, but how do I take that story to my people and to my partners to really help them get excited about what's going to happen? Because as we said earlier, the stakeholders aren't clear and understanding and with you on the journey, you're in danger of being kind of called out or just abandoned. So these are some of the issues that we do a lot with the compliers. And again, if you think you're a complier, I know there are a lot of compliers out there, just put it up in the chat. I'd be really curious to see. Now, the last one, top right, we always want to be in the top right of any kind of chart. And this is high on business, high on stakeholders. So they really are undertaking what we call transformative change. Now, interestingly enough, it's these people who think, oh my God, we've only just started, but we are undertaking the big moves that we need to do. They're both driven by exciting excited around the potential, but also a clear understanding about the threats to their business. So they've got really clear understanding of all the stakeholders, the needs, the risks, and the opportunities. They are addressing the business model. They're exploring it, sometimes executing new business models, new routes to market, unlocking new customer value, new R&D, new materials, new supply chain. They're really doing that. That's hard work. But they are engaging with it. Obviously, that needs leadership, doesn't it? They are probably more ambitious. They don't want to just do no harm and do net zero. They're going, no, let's regenerate. Let's put investment back into our communities, back into the environment, back into the, you know, the natural resources. They've baked it obviously into the C-suite, the board, the stakeholder, the shareholders are all very, very clear. And they've got a plan that obviously has got, you know, robust plans, you know, scientifically measured, etc. So obviously what we do with those folks, they've got the change. Now we've just got to help them innovate and help you innovate, drive that change through new ecosystems, new value chain, new customer segments, etc. Really exciting stuff, but my goodness, this needs enterprise-wide effort. Yeah, so hopefully, yeah, go ahead.
I think everyone's been a little bit shy, so I'm going to ask the question in a different way.
Yeah.
Andy shared 4 different archetypes, right? In this journey. Now, do you know, I'm asking the audience, do you know which archetype you are? And if you do know, type yes into the chat box right now. Everyone's very shy.
Super quick. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. Thanks, James. Yes, thanks, Emma. Yeah, and if you don't, I think there were some questions about Andy's report that he's prepared to share. So that's andy.wilson@ogilvy.com. So please send him an email and he'll get the report over to you. Thank you so much, Michelle. Absolutely, yes. Great.
That's good. And we've obviously got some diagnostic tools and questions and things like that. So if you're curious, we can get that conversation started, because as you can see in the boxes below, there are different actions required depending on where you are on that. It's not one size fits all, and you've got to galvanize your organization accordingly. And as you can see here, when you remind yourselves where that value comes from, it's really from the top right segments. It's only the transformers can really release all that value. Certainly the customer value, because as we said, the consumers want solutions. They don't want chit chat. They don't want kind of, yes, we're on this journey. They really want solutions to help, programs that really demonstrate their commitments to community and environment, consumer solutions that helps consumers feel that they are living a more responsible, sustainable lifestyle. Great. Okay, so I'll finish there. Hopefully that's food for thought. Hopefully we got to take a step back. Obviously, Dasheng's going to talk us a little bit more about the community and the media tactics that are available to you. But we wanted you to take a step back and just think about your organization. Think about your leadership. Think about where your organization sits. Are you set up for success? And if not, there are certain prescriptions that you can do to really drive that agenda. So what is your sustainable response position of those 4 quadrants? What are the new forms of value that you want to strike and make available? And what are the urgent and important actions to create that value? So I'll leave it there. Thank you very much. And I'll hand over to you, Dasheng.
Yeah, you know, Andy, you know, whenever we give these sort of webinars, it just seems like there is so much to do, right? There really is so much to do. But I think what we're saying is that if you don't even take a stab at it, you know, honestly, your business or your sector could go the way of the dinosaur much sooner than you think, right? And so on the next slide, I wanted to share that, you know, clearly I agree with everything that Andy has shared. We've kind of teased out what we've disagreed about, you know, before this presentation. I agree. And then, you know, Andy brought up a very good point about the question of value. So it's clear that brands and organizations will derive significant and sustainable customer-facing benefits from investing in sustainability. That's unequivocal. It's a yes, right? So you do need to start investing now. Now, in my line of work and having met a lot of partners, they fall into 3 different camps. So we have some who are doing it, and as Andy sort of alluded to a little bit earlier, they're doing something for a comms reason, a marketing reason. Then there are some who say, you know, Dasheng, I'd rather spend all my money on action and I don't want the comms. And then we have a fair number who are in between. So what I want to put on the table is that, you know, I would want to encourage all of you to not be on the two extremes, right? You shouldn't be greenwashing your brand or doing all this good work and not having it recognized, because that recognition drives community awareness, drives, you know, community preference forward, and drives this entire engine and this movement to the place we need it to be. So on the next slide, I wanted to sort of highlight some of the partners we worked with, and you'll see DBS, Audi, MSIG, Epsilon Daikin, etc. And for these, in the past year alone, these partners have really stepped up to the plate with us, acknowledging that action without a clear comms strategy really won't help the community reap the benefits of the influence and action that we can collectively bring together. So what we're saying here is that there is a portion of the value equation which will then be lost if you focus on doing all this good, but you don't communicate the good that you're doing or the choices and actions that you are trying to influence. So on that note, next slide, please. We've worked with government. Government at the beginning of last year launched the SG Green Plan. We worked with them on the CNA Green Plan, where together we mobilized 3 pillars of the community to reach over 10 million people. So we've invested a significant portion of our network resources to support this community in the movement towards sustainability. And so what we've done here is actually pretty much brokered a marriage, right, between government and corporates like, you know, all of us in this webinar to drive societal adoption and change. I wanted to share I'm sharing this with you because the big takeout here is that I want to encourage all of you to think of us, this network and this sustainability community, as partners that you can leverage on, that you don't have to go it alone. Okay, and I'll show you how you can leverage in the coming slides. So you will see that putting this out there, we took a 7-pronged approach to create, and then to drive this movement. So clearly we've got this omni-channel activation going on, everything from editorial coverage to social tribes to public activations, you know, rallying the corporates, and then of course that immense amount of publicity, right? Because remember, there's that old, Andy, you know this adage where, you know, if a tree falls or in a forest and no one hears it, the tree really fall, you know, so there's a little bit of that going on. And what we think is to work with us and let the public know the good work that you're doing in order to drive the conversation forward. The conversation has become so incredibly important in doing what we do. So if we go to the next slide, you will see that now look at the digital reach and the social reach we've been able to garner from this movement. Now, all of you can look, you know, at your marketing budget and go, gosh, if I had to drive this much reach, what would I have to spend alone? So what we're saying here is I'm putting on the table something that Mediacorp has invested, like, you know, a significant 8-digit sum of money and resources behind this movement to work with all of you to drive this message forward. So don't do it alone, because it's arduous, you know, it's hard yards. So in this, we're saying, join us to participate in this larger conversation and see how we can springboard and how you can springboard from what we've already done, where you enjoy the value of not having to invest behind creating your own audience, because we have the audience. And how do we know this? On the next slide, you will see over the past 9-10 months, all these programs have actually run on CNA. On top of that, we also launched a sustainability editorial pillar in December of 2021. Now, from December to May, imagine that pillar has already garnered more than 8.3 million PVs for all the content that we put out there. And this number, we see the rate of PV increase is exponential. It's not linear. So we have this audience where, you know, with your content, with your story that it's told well, that we can reach, and then therefore build that whole halo effect around, where you enjoy the halo effect of the movement, but at the same time, the community becomes far more educated. Okay, so on to the next slide. So now, how do we know that we're trending really, really well with this movement? We do social dipsticks all the time, right? Social listening is core to our business and core to the work that we do for our partners. So in this case, you will see that not only has this movement been able to drive green discussions to trend socially in Singapore, but that the overall sentiment online in social is overwhelmingly positive, right? And the great thing is many examples have been pulled out where, you know, where the audience is sharing their candid experiences, etc. But most importantly, you will see that key social conversations around upcycling, recycling, food donation, food rescue, food waste are trending extremely strongly. And I think this is so appropriate. And I'm going to share a case study after this, where I feel that an organization was so ahead of the curve and that they've been able to ride the wave really, really well. And it's because, you know, now, I mean, what do we hear? Supply chain issues, inflation's on the way up, resources are in short supply, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, the public is clearly very, very concerned about these issues, and anything that your organization is doing in this space becomes important storytelling and important messaging. So when we also do, when we also do a dipstick among the youth and, you know, among the entire, you know, social conversation that's going on, we find that the resilient future and sustainable living have started, you know, trending extremely strongly. And I think these are the two things that are going to trend significantly in 2022. Why? Because people are genuinely concerned about, you know, do I make a job change into into a new sector that will prepare me to have this resilient future? You know, do I then pivot to a sustainable living, a way of living sustainably, or working for organizations that allow others to live sustainably? You know, these are the issues that are percolating and that we see in high relief, and that we're currently working with government to take this movement onto that next phase where we will address some of these key topics. So what you will also see is that as part of that conversation building, we built a bespoke green social tribe of our celebs and our influencers to drive these conversations forward and to gain additional reach. So we will continue to do this and continue to invest behind this. And this is an area that we believe you can leverage on, right? It's really, really expensive for each of you to go it alone, you know, join the conversation with us. Okay, so then for those, you know, there were a significant number of you, you know, when we were doing the first couple of polls, who were a little bit unsure, the organization was unsure, not quite sure where we're all headed with this. I invite you to partake of this dedicated sustainability time belt on CNA Fridays at 9 p.m. Set some time aside, because these programs, also available on MeWatch, are going to get you as a senior leader in your company across the key the key issues, the key challenges, and even we hope spark off ideas for how you can take your organization on this next lap and how to do it quickly. So lots of content available. Please make use of it, right? And now I want to put a spotlight on DBS. Now, DBS has been a very, very interesting partner with us. More than 2 years ago, they started down this journey of championing zero food waste. And I will say that this message, I mean, due to my job and what I do for Mediacorp, I actually meet many of our partners, and we meet socially, we go out, we have meals, and I think it's become sort of the buzzword now at every one of these meals, like, oh, let's not order so much, we don't want food waste. There's a lot of talk and chat and conversation about this. So they started with a CNA Insider 3-part investigative journalism series on food waste. Then we went back to them to say, hey, we do the biggest food program, in Singapore called MasterChef. How interesting if DBS could work with us and use MasterChef as a platform to talk about zero food waste. And over the past 6 months, we have then transformed that conversation through something we call social experiments, which have proven to be a highly engaging form of content and format that seems very easy to consume and very welcomed by the audience. So on this, I wanted to share with you an example of what this social experiment is that we did with DBS. So could we run video, please?
Today, I'm going to be a fruit seller. Now, who would like to buy not perfect, shiny-looking apples, but the ones with defects? I got Augustine from Ugly Food Singapore to bring over a box full of ugly-looking apples and decided to sell them at a regular price of $2 for 3.
I know.
Why are people so resistant to buying my ugly apples?
I thought it's rotten. It's just a dented.
So Ugly Food actually promotes something called flexible eating, as in when instead of going to the supermarket with a set list in mind, why not actually go there with an open mind? So if you clear whatever they have on the excess in the retail stores, it actually helps reduce food waste a lot. We have been coming up with creative ways to reduce food wastage since 2017, and we are happy to have supporters like DBS Foundation who believe in what we do.
By not being too picky, you play a part in reducing food wastage and helping our environment. Now chew on that, will you?
Right, so this was a very, very engaging series that we worked with DBS on, and we have invested behind the content as well. And as Tessa in the chat box has talked about, yeah, Tessa, I mean, the commitment by this organization behind this message is, I would say, so far and beyond. But at the same time, I also want to say one of our banking partners is doing such great work around funding youth projects around sustainability, doing the vending machine work. But unfortunately, I would say, I think that's where that portion of that effective communication is perhaps not put out there. And I encourage them, and I think that brand would know who I'm talking about, that I would encourage them to do their storytelling in a more vociferous manner, so that we can all be further inspired by what they're doing, and also for businesses to know what's available that they're providing. Okay, so we're coming very close to we're doing really great on time, Andy. So we're coming really close to the end. I wanted to share with you this upcoming video that Desmond is putting out on his IG as a sort of a closing statement, and to just kind of encapsulate the mood that Andy and I have tried to create this morning. So could we run video, please?
I can't really remember when exactly I started being so passionate about going green, but I know why, because I really want to conserve this beautiful planet for many generations. And if we don't start now, when? So when I recycle at home, I put all the recyclables into a bin, and that started many years back. Another effort to keep green at home is to use less electricity as much as possible, and most of my devices at home are energy conserving ones. Another green effort is to not overbuy groceries. So I just buy the right amount when I have fruits that are bruised and kind of aged, I will make them into smoothies or juices. We always have this misconception that if I go green, my lifestyle would change entirely. But I think we can do it wisely without compromising our lifestyle.
So on to our last slide, we think that these are the key takeaways from today. I think there are 3 words. It's action, 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 right? I'd like to add 3 more, which is communicate, communicate, communicate. I think on the backdrop of these takeaways, we wanted to sort of address some of the questions that have come up in the chat box. So Andy, did you have one that you wanted to take up?
Yeah, I saw a very interesting question about a CEO from Bo Chung Yap. The CEO is the one who can move the needle, and sometimes they're reluctant because obviously they're incredibly bottom line oriented and commercially oriented. And I must say that's probably the biggest barrier that I've seen is the conflict between the need to make the necessary action and the cost of making that action, and how, if you've got a commercial hat on, how to realize that cost. And I've got a term called return on sustainability effort. Now, it's hard to make a direct business case in the old-fashioned way because short-term returns over the short term are going to be less apparent. So one of the problems is the horizon, and that's hard to change with an entrenched culture. If they've got very short-term horizons, it's really hard for them to imagine that. The other issue on that is legacy, because by not taking action, you are almost inevitably, almost, not always, some sectors are still immune, but you're almost inevitably going to be putting risk pressure onto your business. And that's not a good legacy for leaders to leave behind. Whether they've retired or not, they're not leaving their business in better shape. There are, of course, better, simpler arguments to make. As I said, the 4 forms of value: employee value, customer preference, new markets, and cheaper access to capital. Now, those are obviously headlines, but a smart business person can start making the case for that. Ultimately, the leader has to have the vision. And if they decide that it's the right thing to do, they will make it happen. So there are other soft human reasons or human arguments to be made for this CEO. It's a huge, exciting conversation to have.
Yeah, I wanted to just put a reference out here. Now, if for the people at this webinar who love to read, I encourage you to just check out this great author by the name of Scott D. Anthony. He runs a company called InnoSight that I've had the good fortune to work with in two of my roles before in the past, and also at Mediacorp. And he does lots of research around disruptive business cycles. So what, and because I used to work in a telco, it was a case where, the SMS was worth everything. And we were like, oh my gosh, but the SMS revenue is being eaten by WhatsApp, right? So, there was all that, and many telcos were slow to reprice and to deal with that head on and say, I'm prepared to meet the disruption where I need to meet it, but I will grow revenue and be creative and grow revenue in a new space, right? So I think that's what it is. No one likes to change, but unfortunately, it's facing you it's facing you in the eyes, and if you don't do something about it, you're basically going to be in a very lame duck position.
One more, that's great, and one more kind of gift, I guess, and I can email me and I can give you the link. My partner I just mentioned before has literally just published a book designed exactly for this question. She's on the board, she is a director, and she's written a kind of guidebook of sustainability issues designed for board level and director level. So huge amount of fiduciary issues, huge amounts of legal and long-term kind of accounting stuff beyond my pay grade. It's an excellent book. I've reviewed it. So by all means, I can give you the link. It's just a few dollars.
Right. And I'm looking at the time, and I think I need to kind of segue now to Santa Claus, or who we know as Chris Ho. Chris, would you like to share with us what you have on offer?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for your time today. My name is Chris, and I represent the Association of Advertising and Marketing Singapore, or AAMS, the trade association for the ad marcom sector. Now, in the last hour, we've heard some good examples of how you can integrate sustainability into your strategy and campaigns. And we hope that many of you are inspired to start rethinking your approach to campaigns in a new way and to start telling your sustainability stories. At AAMS, we believe ultimately that it all comes down to having skilled people in your team to help navigate the changes faced. And we must all start with a good basic understanding of what marketing is about. So at AAMS, we have 2 talent development programs to help agencies and SMEs to upskill and to reskill your team's skill set. So to help advertising agencies develop their employees' skills and expertise, AAMS is very proud to introduce the Institute of Practitioners in Advertising, or the IPA, award-winning and industry-leading range of ad marcom learning and development qualifications. The IPA is the professional body that supports UK advertising agencies. Now, since 2012, the IPA has exported its world-class qualifications to over 22,000 advertising practitioners of various experience levels from 87 countries. So, for the budding advertising practitioner, kickstart your career in advertising with the Foundation Certificate that will give you an essential overview of the advertising industry. Master the basics of digital marketing, including search engine optimization and marketing, and paid search with the Digital Performance Essentials Certificate. For all you, the senior account managers, the Commercial Essentials Certificate will help you gain a vital grounding in a broad range of financial issues and get a better understanding of the commercial factors influencing agencies and clients. Our qualifications in efficiency, diversity, and inclusion can inspire and imbue young advertising professionals with a sense of mission and purpose. For all the experienced advertising practitioners, our advanced level qualifications will help you kick down the doors to the C-suite. Now, our IPA qualifications are conducted online by world-class industry practitioners. AAMS members will also enjoy special rates for all IPA qualifications. So register your interest at aams.org.sg/IPA certs, or contact me at christopher@aams.org.sg to turbocharge your ad marcom career today. So our next slide will introduce our second talent development program at AAMS. This second talent development program is to encourage SMEs to hire mid-career professionals with no prior digital marketing experience by offering government-funded courses that focus on the fundamentals of digital marketing for the reskilling of new hires in your company. Your new hires can be registered in our 6-month career conversion program, or CCP class modules. Eligible employees may receive up to 70% course fee funding and up to 90% of salary support for up to a year. Our last intake for the current CCP in its incarnation will be held this month, June 2022. The next intake for content strategists is on 16th June, and we have managed to extend our deadline for digital advertising professionals to 30th of June. So enroll your new hires in our CCPs and receive quality training from industry practitioners who are up to speed on the latest digital marketing trends and standards. So visit us at aams.org.sg or contact me and my team at ccp@aams.org.sg. Thank you. Back to you, Dasheng.
Okay, thank you so much, Andy. Thank you so much, Chris. And also thank you so much to everyone who attended today. You'll see a little bit of a promo trailer for our upcoming webinar on Women in Business. It's a new series that we're starting. So like I said, thank all of you for coming. I really hope that Andy and I have been able to cast some light, some inspiring light on the way forward, but also to show you the resources that are available to help you along in all of this. You know, we really need to do this all together. And we say this very, very sincerely. So again, thank you so much. Have a great day ahead. And everyone, stay safe.
Thank you.